Aaron Rodgers signing last week was not great news if Kirk Cousins wants to be out of Atlanta and get to a place where he has a chance to start. It seems like the musical chairs have all disappeared and Kirk is still in Atlanta as Michael Penix is backup. So really right now, nothing hot here. I think someone's situation would have to change either via an injury to a quarterback or some other way that would open up a market for Kirk Cousins that right now has not materialized. If nothing changes, then he opens the season as Michael Penix Jr.'s backup. I do think the Dolphins are going to get Jalen Ramsey traded. They've made it clear, that he is a guy that they don't expect to be on this year's team. An acquiring team's going to have to pick up probably at least some of that $20 million he's got coming his way this year. And if the Packers are releasing Jair Alexander, who's a cheaper option, that could maybe slow down the market for Jalen Ramsey. But the Dolphins do believe they'll be able to find a trade partner for him, and he'll be on the move. We've heard Rams, we've heard Ravens, and there are other teams that have poked around on it, so we'll see how that shakes out.
All right, see where Jalen Ramsey ends up 87 days before the start of the NFL regular season. A dozen NFL teams will be reporting for mandatory minicamps tomorrow. To take us through the latest, we've got NFL insider Dan Graziano with us. All right, Dan, let's begin with the Browns, who have Shedeur Sanders as a part of a very crowded quarterback room. What can you tell us about how Sanders has looked so far?
Yeah, very crowded, as you say. Everybody's happy with what Shedeur Sanders is doing. It's just a question of getting everyone enough reps so that they can make a real evaluation. You have the two veterans in Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, and you have the two rookies in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, is designing practice in a way to maximize reps. There are periods where the rookies will be on one field doing 7-on-7s or 11-on-11s while the veterans are on another field doing the same thing. So as we get into minicamp here and as the Browns get into training camp, that's going to be a big part of the story, is how do they get everybody enough practice reps so that they can make a decision.
To make an impact right away. What have you been hearing about Travis Hunter in Jacksonville?
Oh, so much good. Defensive backs coach is asking if he can use him more on defense. They're trying to teach him the offense and sort of have him major on that side of the ball and minor in defense right now. But, he's making highlight reel plays like pretty good feeling in Jacksonville that he'll be somebody who can help them in a number of different ways. He was, of course, the second pick. The first was Cam Ward, quarterback for the Titans. Titans have been very happy with everything they've seen from Cam Ward, first guy in the building, all that good stuff you want from your quarterback. A receiver named Xavier Restrepo, who's undrafted out of Miami. He's had a good connection with Cam Ward early in this offseason. I helped Cam's transition. And in New Orleans, you have Tyler Shuck, the rookie out of Louisville. He's in a quarterback competition, ostensibly, with Spencer Rattler. And there are people in that building that like both guys an awful lot. I think there's a chance that Rattler could show them enough throughout the offseason that he might end up starting. But Shuck, no question about the talent, the arm talent. It has been on display in practices. It's just a matter of how quickly he gets up to speed. And, of course, Rattler has a little bit of a head start on him, having been in the league already.
All right, very curious to see how those quarterback competitions end up shaking out. Finally, there's some players that could find themselves on new teams by the time week one rolls around. So what is the latest on Kirk Cousins?
On that breaking news from this morning out of the NFL, with Packers are releasing their former All-Pro cornerback Jair Alexander. That's been confirmed by our lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones this AM. He had 2 years remaining on his current deal, exploring trade options with Green Bay before the release, but the move will save the Packers just over $17 million when it comes to cap space. Alexander spent the first 7 years of his career in Green Bay with the Packers, but played in just 14 games the last 2 seasons due to a multitude of injuries. He'll now hit free agency for the first time in his career, find a new home for 2025. For more of this one, bringing my guy Jonathan Jones. You see there with the AV there outside of the top 5. Jair, of course, checking in at $21 million. Top dog Derek Stingley, who signed not too long ago at $30 when it comes to those top shutdown corners. Now I'll get to Jonathan Jones, and of course this news coming out this morning. JJ, your reaction? I feel like this is something we saw in the writing since last season.
Yeah, we did. We saw that Jaire Alexander was likely not to be with the Green Bay Packers that much longer. And then some things started to happen. Then it started to look like, okay, actually, maybe he could stay because they're having trouble. The Packers are finding a trade partner. Maybe they ultimately work on this revised contract. And so that's the way that the tides were kind of moving maybe about a month ago. And then there was no agreement. So right before the start of mandatory minicamp, where he's not going to show up and now you're going to have to fine him because that is what the CBA dictates. Let's just go ahead and let him know that he is being granted his release. Now, this is not what Green Bay Packers wanted. Remember, about 3 years ago, we made him, and we just had the graphic up, highest paid cornerback in NFL history, averaging $21 million per year. And then he turned in a second-team All-Pro year in 2022, but only playing 7 games in 23, only playing 7 games in 24. A lot of injuries, and there was some question within the Green Bay organization about, are you hurt or are you injured? And there was always sort of trying to figure that out within the team. And if they were going to have him available for that upcoming Sunday or not, they kind of never really knew up until Friday or Saturday on a number of weeks. And so have to cut bait with someone who was the highest paid cornerback in NFL history, to cut bait with someone who's homegrown talent. We know that Green Bay, A, loves homegrown talent, B, doesn't just make someone the highest paid anything at their position, and then ultimately cut them without getting anything in return for him. But that is where the Packers found themselves, and now Jaire Alexander, for the first time in his career, being able to test out free agency.
JJ, real quick, because we know talent is there. You just mentioned, of course, he's a former Pro Bowler, and when he's healthy, he's a shutdown guy on one side of the field. If you're a team looking for a corner like that, we know the antics, we've seen he loves the camera a lot. What type of DB will you be getting in Jaire Alexander?
Well, it's hard to say because of the injuries and because he's had knee injuries and shoulder injuries. You're going to have to not only put him through a physical with your own team doctors, but you're going to have to get him in your building and spend some time with him, get to know him, the person, right? Because we know him as the player. You got on the tape and watch him, the player, in man or in zone. But this is why, you know, I think maybe to answer your question a little bit, someone's going to wonder, okay, he just got released by Packers. Is he going to get picked up this upcoming day or two? I think this could actually take some time. Teams are now in their mandatory minicamps. If it's not this week, then it's next week. Teams are then going to break for vacation. GMs, assistant GMs, cap folks, they're going to be gone. I'm not saying that no NFL business will take place into mid to late June, early July, but this is a player at 28 years old with the injuries he's had the last couple of years, with the sort of question marks and with the sort of money that you're going to have to pay him, either in base salary or signing bonus or incentives. You're going to want to spend some time with him, Jaire Alexander. And so because of that, I don't know that anything is going to happen anytime soon, along with the fact that he's probably going to have a decent market if things check out, all things that we have just been talking about. So if I had to wager a bet on how quickly this happens, I would say that it's probably not going to happen that quickly, because Jaire Alexander will likely have a market if all of the boxes get checked when he visits with a team or multiple teams.
When you talk about that market, it may be jammed up because there's another corner that's looking to leave Miami, and Jalen Ramsey, of course. We've heard about this since the beginning of the draft. Nothing happened there. June 1st, possible cut, nothing there.